Antibiotic-resistant bacteria, otherwise known as superbugs. Let me read you from NBC Online here. I'm not sure why this isn't being more on television and not just online, but it says nightmare bacteria are trying to spread in the United States, according to the CDC. I'm looking up here and screening. They did some testing of these bugs. People with no symptoms whatsoever are carrying it. 1 out of 10 people in one area were tested. And another test, the CDC says 1 out of 4, that's 25% of the people, had this antibiotic resistant bugs. Oh, what? But they're contradicting themselves. They got a double edged sword here. On one side in this article, they're saying there's nothing we have to stop it. Antibiotics don't stop it, nothing stops it. Surrender Dorothy, so to speak. On the other side, they're saying we must take aggressive measures. Aggressive policies can stop them from spreading, it says, quote unquote, federal health officials said Tuesday. Let's read between the lines here. If they can't stop it with hospital care, they can only stop it with aggressive measures. They're not quite using the Q word, quarantine. Seriously, folks, they're talking quarantine. Before our very eyes, we're seeing it, but we're not reading between the lines. They're not saying quarantine, but they're meaning quarantine. Let me just read on here. If you want to read along with me, it's at the nbcnews.com/, that's a long link. Just put antibiotic resistant bugs and limit the search to just today, and you'll see it. That's what I did. They're saying worse, the antibiotic resistant DNA can be carried in little cassettes of genetic material called plasmids, PLASMIDs. The bacteria could slip in their entirety to another species of bacteria. They say this already happened a number of times. So superbugs are begetting new superbugs, making it impossible to treat. And once this, let me read the quote. The CDC said, quote, once antibiotic resistance spreads, it's harder to control like a wildfire, unquote. Another quote from a World Health Organization official said, quote, fundamental threat, unquote, to humanity. They know something. Big Pharma has cranked out all these antibiotics. It's not like the good old days when you had a little like blue stuff on the cheese and you eat it and it's penicillin, early stages. No, they keep making meaner, badder, more patentable microorganisms, antibiotics, and it's wreaking havoc on our world right now. And now these superbugs are about to come home and roost. They say, quote, we are able to put 500 additional staff across the country to help with this, unquote. Oh, wow. 500 additional staff. Whoopee. If it doubles at a rate of, in the third grade, I learned how to double numbers up to 1,000,000 to see if I still remember it. This is how bacteria multiplies. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 5, and 12,024, 2,048, 4,096, 8,192, 16,384, 38. It goes on and on and on. I mean, I had a punishment paper. I had to do it. And I learned how to double numbers to 1,000,000 back when you actually learned something in school. But this is something they're not teaching in school. Folks, I am telling you, these results are sobering. Quote, this means the germ could have spread undetected in that healthcare facility, unquote. What they're talking about is most of these people who have antibiotic resistant bugs don't carry any symptoms at all. We heard about MRSA, MRSA, Staphylococcus aureus, and how it used to be just in the hospitals. Now it's more commonplace in the general pedestrian marketplace, so to speak. Yeah, we know that inappropriate use of antibiotics causes this, but when you go to your doctor, you'll want something. So he reluctantly gives it to you anyway, whether you need it or not. Even if it's a virus, take the antibiotic just in case. That's creating superbugs. So what's going to happen? Are they really going to quarantine people? That's what I'd like to know. They're not saying the Q word, but they're saying aggressive actions. Here's another part that says, quote, the more aggressive approach worked better. What are they talking about? New strategies you're talking about, new aggressive actions. Here's another one. According to, if I'm pronouncing it right, Shuchat, Schuchat, reported, quote, we have seen that an aggressive strategy is needed and it works well, unquote. But they're not saying what it is. What is this aggressive strategy? They've admitted that they don't have a cure for it, and they admitted that 1 out of 10 people, and in one of the test results, 1 out of 4 people in the lab tested positive for these superbugs, but they're not symptomatic. What's with, so you got a bug that you can't cure, and you're going to take aggressive measures. What does this mean? Enough of the psychobabble. I want to know what it means. I want to know what they're talking about. Here, let me read another one. Quote, the strategy requires a coordinated response among healthcare laboratories, facilities, health departments, and CDC through the antibiotic resistant lab network, unquote, the CDC said. And well, hold on, let's read between the lines. A coordinated response. That's aggressive, and they got a name for it already, the antibiotic resistant lab network. Let's read on. Quote, this is a very aggressive, this is the 5th time I've seen that word. This is a very aggressive approach, but containment of the new resistant germs is really important, unquote. Shuchat added, duh, yeah, I think it would be important, but how are you going about this? Quote, otherwise, we could see these new nightmare bacteria become very common and essentially untreatable, unquote. But it's already untreatable. So their aggressive action is rounding people up. I mean, if you disarm people, it's pretty easy to round them up, right? It's a double-edged sword. On one side of the pharmaceutical induced biowarfare, or whatever you want to call it, on the one side of the sword, you want to cure the people. You want to um, maybe even isolate people for a period of time, making sure they don't spread to other people. But on the other hand, we don't have the government arresting millions of people, putting them in containment camps, claiming that they have these superbugs. So what's the truth? Let's read a little farther. Quote, the efforts detailed in the Vital Signs report were made possible through the new congressional funding in 2016 to combat antibiotic resistance, unquote, Allwater said, adding, quote, we urge Congress to sustain and to grow that investment. Don't you love these political terms? That investment in aggressive action, like arresting people, so that further progress is arresting people by the tens of thousands or millions, further progress will prepare us to meet the future challenges. Future challenges? We're human beings here. Future challenges of antibiotic resistance from a position of strength, unquote. Position now is starting to scare me. We're talking aggressive measures to stop the spread of something that they have no cure for. And they're now calling human beings who carry it human mosquitoes in this article. Look it up, NBCnews.com, and just put in antibiotic resistant bacteria for the date of April 3rd, 2018. You'll find it right away. That's all I did. Now, Price said it already is difficult to get doctors, hospitals, and clinics to implement other programs that work. What are these other programs? Mass containment, which include regular hand washing. Oh, now they're making it benign. Regular hand washing, disinfectants, and mass containment. Hello. As well as testing and the appropriate use of antibiotics. That's not closing the barn door after the horses escape. Appropriate use of antibiotics. They made the superbugs, for heaven's sake. Who's to say the government doesn't have a cure and the only cure to this? Maybe it was all coming to this on purpose. Maybe it came on accident. I don't know. But I know this much. If there is a cure, you better believe the high level politicians have it for themselves. Remember, these are the same politicians that exempted themselves from Obamacare. Everybody else had to have Obamacare, not the elected officials. No, sir. They had their own special congressional health care. If it weren't for double standards, our politicians would have no standards at all sometimes. But let's read on. I am a fan of what they're proposing to do, unquote, he said, but it will do little to catch superbugs that are already spreading in communities. And again, they said these superbugs are not even detectable. You have to have a test. They're not, people aren't symptomatic. So 1 out of 10, according to part of this NBC News article, says, and then 1 out of 4, the other part of it says, in the lab, actual lab tests showed they're positive for this. So basically, your doctor might be test positive for these superbugs, and he's treating you and everybody else who goes in and out of revolving door there. Another part of this story, it just they're talking in code here. Listen to this. If this isn't code, I don't know what is. Plus, doctors need to do the right thing when people do turn up sick. What is the right thing? They already say doctors can't stop it, drugs can't stop it, antibiotics can't stop it, hospitals can't stop it. So when people start turning up sick with the incurable bugs, doctors have to do the right thing. Guys, please share a copy of this. Do your own research. Send this video to somebody, share it, whatever you got to do. Pretty cool that YouTube actually is doing the same thing Facebook live streaming is doing, allowing you to just click a button now and do this. Hey, delete this, do your own, do one better, but get the message out. It says, do the right thing, doctors. Here's a quote. They should be getting a culture before they write a prescription for an antibiotic. He said, yeah, unquote. Of course they should. They should have done that millions of times ago, but they didn't. What are we going to do now that the horses have escaped and the barn doors are now being closed? They're protecting the barn from the horses coming back. Come on. And they're saying, but doctors are not using the quick tests that already exist. No, duh. Again, it's a little bit after the fact. They kind of conclude it with a little dose of reality, and including myself, where I want results when I go see a doctor. When you're 45 minutes late for your appointment that you were on time for, but they make you 45 minutes late because they're seeing other patients like you, so you can't completely blame them. But here's the ending of this article at NBCnews.com. In the meantime, doctors who want good ratings give patients what they demand. I love the way they're so passive aggressive and they're putting demand, throwing the blame on the people instead of the system, the big pharma and everything else that made this problem. The infections and are helping drive the evolution of superbugs. Final sentence says, translation or anything else, but there are little things in there like 25% of the population dies from such and such. 33% of the population that's left dies from so and so. I mean, this is not far away, folks. And it's not necessarily big boogeymen from the sky or a lot of these so-called locusts and things. I mean, I used to think it was metaphors, but locusts from the book of Revelation, it talks about these locusts with a loud sound. They sound like drones to me, right? And the antibiotic-resistant bugs sound like right out of the book of Revelation. We already know that you could have a drone the size of a fly or maybe a horsefly that could drop a chemical or biological element that would be very hard to stop. We know we got nuclear, biological, and this EMP threat that for some reason our politicians won't spend $9 or $10 billion to harden our electrical grid to stop it from killing 90%. That's right, 90% of the population. If we had one EMP blast from that satellite from anybody, it could be North Korea. Hey, a 12-year-old maybe could launch a satellite in another 5 or 6 years at the rate technology is going. I don't have the solution. I know God has a solution. I don't. That's above my pay grade. I'm only reporting the problem here, and it is a problem. It's a big, big problem. I don't have a solution. Sorry, you listened to the whole thing up to now, and I don't have a solution. But I don't, other than praying and hoping God will show us some mercy here and not let this thing go hog wild around the whole world. But then if Big Pharma does find a solution to this one last time and gets finally that one superbug killer, what's it going to stop from happening again? Having a superbug 10 times worse than these other ones that supposedly 1 out of 10 people in certain regions are carrying already. carrying those symptoms. Boy, if it weren't for bad news, I have no news to report at all tonight. I apologize, everybody. Put your hope in God and not government. The only two letters they have in common are G-O. And with that, I'm going to G-O. I'm going to go out of here. Hope you did not enjoy this stream. Hope you did not. Whoever's watching this, I hope one of you comes up with a solution, and I hope all of you pray. Thank you.